that agent for me. So it creates the CI/CD pipeline so I can have a way of deploying my code. They can automate tasks and enhance workflows. Kind of talk about that. So Copilot, or any prompt, any AI prompt, is reactive assistant. I ask you X, you return Y. But an agent is a proactive collaborator. I run the agent, it goes up, calls this, calls that, does this, does that, presents whatever it is that I've asked that agent to coordinate and the final output. So it's really important that I understand agents are a way of me being proactive in getting to something. Now again, I can ask it for a simple task like create this CI/CD pipeline. I can ask it for a complex task such as call this agent to do the data, to do a recursive data search and return certain values based on certain parameters. Provide that data to a different agent that then consumes it and does something else with it, and so on and so on. So why this matters? It isn't a product, it's not just a productivity tool, it's a new programming paradigm. Think of it. I don't have to codify everything. I now can be very specific and create modules of executable activity. And I'm going to say it's activity because that agent is going to do something for me. Whether it's creating code or calling up code. Whether it's creating code, calling up something else that creates code or calls up code, and then doing something with that. So it's really about a new way of thinking about your approach to programming. It's moving from basically code-centric development to intent-driven orchestration. I need this accomplished, I'm going to call my agent that actually can now be used to configure or to call upon something or a series of something to get me to the end results. Now, static logic to dynamic context-aware reasoning. I can actually get the agent to actually start thinking somewhat for itself or responding to things that occurs, such as what happens when you don't get the expected data return, what happens when an agent isn't responding. So I can actually embed that kind of logic or reasoning into my agent so that it does something, and if that didn't work, or if something different happened, it comes back or calls something else and does that. Sorry. It's not a developer-only tool. It's moved into a cross-functional tool. Now remember my example before where business couldn't explain it, so developers couldn't deliver on day one? What if business could actually call Copilot agents to help them define the requirements that you as a developer need? Well, someone's smiling going, you just made my life a little easier, right? Back and forth conversations, emails, messages, whatever it is that you gotta go back to the business for, those delays, they're gone. If I can give the business, here's an agent, let the agent will walk you through everything that I need to understand. Tell it. It will then come back to me with the right information. So your agent now becomes a very smart interface for your business to communicate back to you what you need to do as a developer. And of course, really smart developer, I'll have agents that will actually start taking care of some of this. When I receive it back, maybe it'll kick off the workflow, calling other agents and so on and so forth. Okay? It means that the business user, domain experts, and developers are now co-creating solutions. In other words, you tell me the problem in agent A, I'll take that agent A results, because they're all the parameters I need to create the code. I can do that manually, or I can call up other agents, or I can create it in a prompt. Doesn't matter, but I now have a better understanding. Now business, who are not very good at explaining to developers, have a tool, an agent, that can help me, as a developer, understand what their needs are. And so, for example, creating functions, simple enough. Debugging, sometimes a challenge. Writing tests. Somebody asked me earlier, can I get Copilot to write a test? Absolutely. Tell it what you need to test, tell it the parameters, or create an agent that prompts you for what other parameters you're testing for. Right? Because again, an agent already defined might be an agent that's asking you, tell me what you're testing for, then I'll create the test code for it, and then run it if I have to. Connect to data. So sometimes that's an easy one. Right? But I can create an agent that knows how to connect to data, has all of the appropriate APIs in place, or knows where to call those APIs in order to prompt it, or in order to complete the tasks, right? How many developers like this one? Generating documentation. Don't you love doing that? Yeah. What? I got an agent to do that. So here's my code, create the documentation for that, so I can pass that on to support or to whomever needs to receive this documentation. And I can create it in a manner that they can understand it, right? Learn about new APIs. So I can actually have my agent actually learning about all of the available APIs if I know where to point it or I know what to ask specifically. And again, I can codify those questions inside the agent. So again, I build the agent once, but I use it many times. Right? And there's more. I keep telling people AI is changing almost daily. My daughter said, Dad, you're already down, it's getting to that point. But think about it. You don't have to stay on top of all the latest. If I've got an agent that can do that, cool. Come back and give me a whole summary of all the new developments on Copilot agents that happened in the last 24 hours. Go off, go do that, bring it back. Yeah, I can do that. Or ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever. But I can actually create an agent that does that for me. So every day I just have to run the agent. I don't even have to type. Run the agent. So, real simple assignment. Generate boilerplate code for a Node.js app, set up a CI/CD pipeline, and then debug it. Sounds like a simple task. Does anyone have to do this manually? Yeah, it might look something like this. Does this look familiar to anybody? Yeah. So I'm not a programmer. I know just enough to get into trouble and then call real smart people to fix what I just messed up. Right? But I did this, and I don't like your jobs. But I can actually create an agent that will do that for me. So here I am. I'm going to create an agent. So let me give this a few seconds to run here. So here's my Copilot Studio. I'm going to go to Copilot Studio. I can type the prompt right in here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually go and create that. Speed that up a bit. All right, so I'm going to go in and create the agent. I'm not going to click on that. So if you saw real quickly, I'm going to do a web scrape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to web scrape the Fanshawe College website to find out all the programs that are available. So I'm going to scrape it and bring that information back to me. So here I am creating an agent. Now you'll notice that the agent started off in the config. Pause this. Pause. There. So if you notice, there's two buttons at the top, describe and config. I go into config and actually tell each one of the lines of what to expect, where to find the knowledge, what to do when you get that knowledge, what are the questions I need answered. Right? So I can, almost as if I were building it in code, but I'm not coding, I'm simply asking in English, I need this done, I need this done, I need this done, this is where I'll get the data, and so on and so forth. Or I can go over and click on the describe button and simply describe it in English. So let me do that. So I'm going to describe it in English. I'm going to put in the prompt window down here. Come on. There we go. So if you look carefully, I said scrape Fanshawe College and respond to the trigger get program info from Fanshawe. So I've told it in one simple statement, go to the website, scrape it, bring that back information around programs available through Fanshawe. Jump again. Notice. Anyone knows what happened on that side of the screen? Sorry, left, right, where it depends on. It's my left, your right. If you're looking over there and you're not, it's actually started and created some tests for the simple query I put forward. So I now have a way of testing certain components of what it's created, and it's ready to go. keep running. Notice it's also said what you want to call it. So I can call it anything under the sun. Yeah, it's a test pop. So notice I actually said, went into the prompt. I'm not going to use any of your tests. I can say just list all the diploma programs at Fanshop. So I kind of went one step further and I asked my own test. I'm validating that. Good. Keep going. So I'll prompt that. That's again a small test. I just want to make sure it's able to do this. I was able to scrape and it can tell me, yeah, it's telling me that there are 173 diploma programs at Fanshop. Cool. It's actually even giving me some more refinement of that test. So not only did I just offhand that test, now I've got additional information. Notice in the config file, back here, in the config file, it's actually gone through and it's started to fill out all pieces, including where to go find the information. Where's my data? Where's the data that you want me to query in order to respond to your prompt or your agent's query? So now I've told it, here's the data. Now, if there were multiple data sources, I would have provided. So if I were actually doing this, for example, business came to me and said, hey, we need sales. We need to kind of plan for our marketing strategy next year. Can you take a look at all the sales information across the country from all of our stores? Yeah, I could point to where all that data is stored. And so my query or my agent that I'm building is really about collecting the data for the past fiscal year from a variety of stores, and they may be in multiple databases. I simply have to tell it where to go find it, and bring back that information, identifying the opportunities in the various marketplaces based on the metrics it's able to come back with, and understanding that those metrics might be seasonal. I could actually add another variable in there that says, and reply, and give me the information from a seasonal perspective. So Christmas season is different than summer, is different than spring and fall. So again, the neat thing is, I don't have to worry about that because as I'm typing in the describe, it's building the query for me. So it's building out the agent prompts that I would have done had I gone to the config screen, I would have done manually. All right? Go back. Okay, sorry. So, pause that. So a fan shop program finder, that's what happens. Now it's actually doing that. There's a description, the orchestration, agent model. So I've got that agent built. It's sitting over there on the left hand under the agents tab. So when I click on the agents tab, because I hit the create button, it actually creates the agent, and now I have that agent. I can share that agent simply by sharing it, and everyone else there has access to it. So right now, I'm the only one. It's in my repository. But I've created an agent that helps me get stuff that I don't want to be doing regularly on a day-in, day-out basis, whether that's CI/CD pipeline, or just think of any repetitive task that you have to codify, or you have to bring up an old record or an old file, modify it, tweak it. Well, now I can create that with embedded prompts, so when it goes to get that file, it then asks me, what changes do you want to make to the file? And do you want to save it under a new name? So there it is. There's the orchestration that's actually telling me what it's doing. I'm going to get out of this. All right. Questions about what you've just seen? Way too fast? Am I talking too fast? Too slow? No, I need to, I can do that. I'm Italian, I can talk a lot faster. Okay. So let me go. Come on. All right. Couple things to keep in mind. Even though I've got these tools are great to use, just like any tool, they've got to be dealt with or handled smartly. Hopefully you've attended some of the other sessions where we talked about smart way of approaching things, whether it was security on machine learning, whether it's responsible AI, whatever it was, there are parameters that you want to think about. So when you're coding, first thing is, whatever word comes back to you, validate it's accurate and correct. Because again, it's trying to figure out what you got going on in your mind when you put in that prompt to create that agent or responding to the agent that you did. It may not know what you were thinking because you were thinking about something. Think about the last time you had a conversation with somebody and you assumed they knew what you were talking about, and then halfway through the conversation you discovered you weren't talking about the same thing, the same person, the same piece of code. You were talking about two different things that sounded alike or are alike enough to have fostered that conversation to go down the path to a certain point. Well, when it comes back, it might not be what I wanted. So I'm going to go, oh, maybe I'll give you a suggestion, or maybe I'll restructure that prompt. Right? I've had different results when I take a prompt and I actually just turn the prompt around. So I asked for X and I expected Y, and then I said, with the expectation of Y, give me X. Or with the expectation of Y, do X. And the response was different than the other way. Again, it's learning every time you ask it. So a prompt, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, it learns every time you prompt it. Keep that in mind. Because if it didn't give you the answer the first time, ask it a second time, or ask it differently. Remember those 4 things I talked about. Be specific, give it context, tell it what your expectations are, and tell it where to find the data. And if you don't tell it where to find the data, it's going to assume everything's up for grabs. So with Copilot, first thing it's going to do is look internally. What? Microsoft products, because it has the built-in APIs to make the calls. Do you have access to it? Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Excel, Teams, Loop, whatever product. SQL inside a SharePoint site. It'll go there. And then it'll go to the internet and say, well, I didn't find enough information there. Let me go to the internet and see what else I can find, and I'll bring that information there. Or I could say, just go to the internet and find it there. But again, Copilot is going to assume you're run internal and external out of that. If you are using the free version, it's going to go internet only, right? Use AI responsibly. There are a set of 6 parameters around responsible AI. They cover everything such as transparency, fairness, and whatnot. That's an important concept to keep in mind. Your AI prompts, your AI agent, whatever they are, they should always reflect that you're doing those things. Why? You gotta be respectful of what AI has the potential of coming back with. Always consider ethical implications of whether it's an AI prompt I'm putting into a web browser or into something like ChatGPT and I'm asking it, think about the implications from an ethical perspective. Same when I'm asking it to create code, I have to think about all the parameters where responsible AI or ethical AI becomes a challenge. And you want to make sure you factor those in. So again, the first thing you're doing is validating your AI. Second thing you're going to do is make sure that you're not breaking any of the responsible AI mandates or pillars. Make sure it's being done in an ethical manner. Copilot, what am I doing for time? Oh, not bad. I still got time for questions. So Copilot and Copilot agent, at this point you should realize that what they are is they're your collaborators. And because of what they are, they actually have the ability to integrate into your IDE right off the bat. So whether it's, as you saw, I was playing with VS Studio or VS Code, my virtual studio, I could have had it inside of GitHub because there's a Copilot built into GitHub, so I can run it there as long as I've got that license. I can run it there and it becomes a really cool tool. But again, it's about leveraging what you have available and making your capabilities and your potential that much better by liberating you to do other things that don't require the repetitive tasks or I won't call them mundane, the necessary but not so exciting things. Cool. Any questions? No? Sorry, yes?
How do students ensure that they do not, they use AI responsibly?
I don't know if this is on. All right, go ahead. I'll repeat it for everyone.
How do students ensure that they use AI responsibly such that it's not detrimental to their learning process?
How do you ensure that students use AI properly so it's not detrimental to their learning process? Well, there's a couple of things that you want to look at. Detrimental to themselves. So again, if you look, or have we had the responsible AI session yet? Not yet?
You can use it now.
Sorry?
You can use it now.
Thank you. So if we've not had it, I suggest start there. Understand what responsible AI is all about and apply those basics to the way you leverage your AI in whatever manner. Okay, that's the first thing. You'll find that if you do that right, everything is possible. And learning, again, using AI to learn is another hugely valuable thing. Like the example I gave you where I have an agent that basically just brings me the updates. There's no way I can keep on top of it. I'm an old man. Well, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, that's me. I'm sorry. Anyone that's old and is classified as a senior, maybe you can learn new stuff. I'm getting too tired, too old. I'm beaten down. But I'm going to leverage AI to help me learn. And at least stay only a pace behind you younger guys. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What's the difference between the agent that you created and the agent that we have in the IDEs? Not ask agent, that it can generate the code.
So, what's the difference between the agent that I created?
Yeah.
Okay, so my agent was specific to what I needed, or what piece of action I needed.
Yep.
The agents you have in your IDE are hopefully tailored to what you need out of your IDE. There's no difference as far as what the capabilities are. The difference is in what the task is that those agents are executing on.
Okay.
So think of it, what's the difference between a car, I'll say it, a CRX and a Ferrari. They're both cars.
Yeah.
How you get there is different. One's designed to get you there from point A to point B reliably without putting a dent in my pocket. The other one, hey, if you can afford the Ferrari,
Yeah.
obviously you're doing a lot better than I am because I'm not there yet, right? And I don't know if I'll ever be there. But yeah, the agents are built for a specific activity, and you can call on the agent again and again and again. And that's the value. So what's in your IDE has obviously been built to help you work through your whatever tasks you're going to leverage in your IDE. Okay? Any other questions? Yes?
You said you leverage AI. What should you use some to finish all the repetitive tasks? What do you do like? And second question would be, when you're using AI, what should define you actually understand stuff, or you just know how to do it?
Okay, so the first one was what do I do with the outcomes from my agent?
Yes.
Okay, so again, what was the task my agent was supposed to take care of? If the outcome from my agent was simply to create code or create a deployment pipeline or scrape the fan shell and bring me back the data, what happens next depends on what your intent is. Remember, the last thing I said about creating a Copilot prompt is tell me what your expectation is. So I'm going to take that data and maybe I'll have it create a simple report that says these are the programs and these are the application processes and here's the link to get that done. I could do that. But again, what you do with the output depends on what do you want to do with the output. And the second part of that question was?
You do this with AI.
Yep.
How do you define you actually understand?
Okay, so how do I understand what the AI did? So remember one of the first things I said on the best practice was go and check what AI came back to. So if you don't have the skills to validate that the code or whatever the response from the AI is a good response, it's a valid response, it has everything you need, then you want to go find a really, really smart friend that does understand it and can go through it. So I will say that this doesn't replace your ability to learn. This is a complement. You should know what the expectation was when you set that prompt up. I should have known what the prompt when I asked for the Fibonacci code looked like. That's why I had it up there. Because then I compared it to that. Oh yeah, it's close. It's exactly what I expected. So I can confirm that AI did it right. So you have to be able to go back. Again, it's to take the burden off of you, but it should be inaccurate. So validate. If it's outside your skill set, bring in someone who does have the skill set to validate that. Because you want the right and good responses to be consumed, not garbage. Remember I said sometimes the response isn't what you expected or isn't accurate. Maybe the query or the prompt wasn't exactly defined well enough. So I'll go back and redefine it or go back and tweak the agent. Because I can always go open the agent, go into config and actually tweak it a bit further. Okay? Any other questions? Yes?
So when you talk about workflow,
When I talk about workflow, yes?
so is it like AI agent taking an input and passing it out, right?
Yeah? Right. So the question was, when I was talking about workflow, was I referring to the ability of an AI agent to go do the query, capture the response, and then pass it on to another agent or another? Absolutely. That's what you want. Agent, the ability for doing multi-agent coordination or orchestration, and that's where the value of having those agents available, right? So I'll build the code, pass it over to the CI/CD agent. It will deploy and then run the test agent to validate that it was deployed successfully and that it's functioning as per whatever parameters I define, right? So I'll have those three agents working together. And there's my simple workflow. Done. I didn't have to code any of it, but I do want to make sure I go back and I check that each one of those is correct. Or maybe I'll just run the test on each one of those agents. As you saw, I had the ability to run the test on each one of those agents as a separate step. But I still want to see orchestration validated as well. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you very much for the awesome presentation.
You're welcome.
So basically, I just want to know, how do you communicate the importance of AI agents, generative AI, and all of that, especially at such a time as we're in, to people or maybe organizations that seem to be kind of against it without saying they are against it?
Okay, so you want to know, how do I do the job I do every day?
Oh.
So the task isn't that I need to convince someone agents or AI is good or bad. Like I said, the first question I usually ask is, why do you even want AI in your space? If it doesn't address a business need, why are they entertaining it? It's like if you had to go to the corner store to buy a liter of milk, why would you get in a Ferrari to do that? You're never going to get the thing out of second gear. Where's the value? You have no value. It looks pretty, it's cool driving it, but the value just isn't there. So again, if you can't justify the value, then AI may not be the answer, maybe something else. Or they haven't explained the business challenge in a manner where AI is a good answer. So I spend a lot of time doing that with the customers I interact with. It's not about AI scared or not scared, taking my job, not taking it. Does it address a business need? And if it does, what's the best way of introducing it? Again, do a lot of change management when AI gets. How's the best way of introducing it so that everyone is not resistant but more accepting to it coming into their world? Again, I'm not replacing the developer. I said developers or someone really smart needs to validate that it's doing its job right. I'm just taking away the mundane task of actually sitting there at keyboard typing away the code. Let AI do the code. I'll validate, yup, looks good. Run a test, yup, it responds correctly. Push it forward. And I have more cycles to take on more projects or more exciting projects. That's what I want, the exciting ones. This mundane stuff, I'm gonna leave it to AI. Give me the exciting part, you know. Any other questions, sorry? Yes?
Hi, sorry, I wrote my question down so I can get it
Sure.
clearly. So I see the value of using AI and
Yep.
also Copilot. But I worry about advanced students and new developers. So I worry that becoming too dependent on AI and Copilot and not building strong foundation in coding and problem solving like being too
Yep.
reliant on them will not allow you to build those skills. So how do you recommend we strike the right balance between using AI and making sure we're learning and deeply understanding the fundamentals?
Cool. And I love that question. So how do we ensure that we have the foundational, we have the foundational understanding and knowledge so that we don't become dependent on the tool? So think about, and maybe I'm laying an example, but think about the hammer. The hammer provided a carpenter with a very functional tool to get their job done. Introduction, power nailers. I can get faster, the job done. But would you put a power nailer in the hands of someone who didn't know how to use it? Right. It represents danger. If you don't understand the output or the desired output, just like the gentleman at the end of your row, you have to be able to validate that the output is solid or accurate. So does that mean you don't need to do code or learn coding? If you're going to be really good at leveraging AI, you should understand what you're asking AI to do so you can verify it did it right. If you're, for example, a project manager, which I've been accused of being some time to time, I'm not a project manager, but I have been. I need to make sure that I have the right smart people now checking for that. So I'll do my job to the best of my ability. But again, if you're a developer, don't shirk your responsibility of knowing how to develop, how to write that code. Because you're going to get AI to do the heavy coding. Do the typing for me, bring it back, I'm going to check it and make sure you did it right. That's key. You need to make sure you're checking it did it right against what you wanted it to do, what you expected it to do, and what the outcome needs to do. Okay? It's not a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. It is just a tool to help you do it better, faster, more reliably, and hopefully more accurately. Okay? One last question. Okay, let's see if there's anyone else. Yes?
So on that note, is the idea basically if you're using it should be something you'll know how to do, but it's just something that would be more time than it's worth?
Right, so it should be something you know how to do. Remember my early example where I had the Fibonacci? I know what Fibonacci numbers are. I can count Fibonacci numbers. Could I figure out the mathematical formula to calculate the Fibonacci numbers? Probably not unless I sat down for at least a couple of days and kind of figured it out. So I could do it. But again, it's testing me on, can you write the code for it? Well, I could write the code if you tell me what the formula needs to look like. Absolutely. So yes, you should know what the code needs to be. You don't have to know what the formula is because hopefully your business is passing you that enough information about that so that you can turn that business need, that Fibonacci in a regressive, into code. So again, do you need to know how to calculate Fibonacci numbers? No. But do you need to know how to code it once you know the formula? Yes. Okay? All right. I think my time is up. My alarm went off. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here for so long. Have a great day.